Good morning, Europe. Thank you for starting your day with us. I'm Anka Ula. It is Thursday, June 9th, and here's a look at your top stories.
The fate of the Donbass is being decided in Severodonetsk. The words of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as the battle for total control of the city continues. A wave of hunger and destitution. The UN warns the impact of the war on food security, energy and finance is getting worse, with over 1 billion people likely to be affected. And 3 environmental organisations are legally challenging the British government over its net zero strategy, arguing there's not enough detail about how targets will be met. The fate of the Donbass region is hanging in the balance in Severodonetsk. That's the message from Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Even though the town is now largely under Russian control, fighting continues, making it the hottest spot on the front line, with Russia refusing to take their foot off the gas.
This is a very fierce battle, a very difficult one. Probably one of the most difficult during this war. I am grateful to everyone who's defending this direction. In many ways, the fate of our Donbass is being decided there.
Severodonetsk's twin town of Lysychansk is also a direct target for Russian artillery. Located north of Severodonetsk, control there gives either army domination of the whole area. But despite bombing and shelling, some locals are still refusing to leave.
In our country, you work your whole life to have a roof over your head. That's why we don't want to go somewhere where we won't have it, our own roof. There are a lot of people in our city who did not leave because they work for their own flat their whole life.
Elsewhere, there is also being renewed shelling in Ukraine's northern Kharkiv region. Russian military said they use high-precision missiles to hit an armour repair plant near the town.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg will have a lot to talk about today during their meeting here in Berlin. There's of course the Russian attack on Ukraine and the current state of that conflict, of that invasion, but also issues stemming from that situation. For example, weapons deliveries. There is a lot of conflict within NATO where some member states, for example Poland and the Baltic states, are accusing Germany of being too slow in delivering weapons to Ukraine. There's also the issue of NATO expansion. Sweden and Finland would like to become members of NATO. That's something that would benefit Germany quite a lot because it would secure the Baltic Sea, and that is a bit of a weak point in the German security system. However, of course, the Turkish President Erdogan is opposed to that, so Stoltenberg and Scholz will probably discuss that situation as well. Jonah Kalgren, Euronews, Berlin.
The UN's chief Antonio Guterres has warned the impact of Russian invasion of Ukraine on food security, energy and finance is worsening, with 1.6 billion people likely to be affected. While this year's food crisis is about lack of access, next year's could be about lack of food.
3 months into the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we face a new reality. For those on the ground, every day brings new bloodshed and suffering. And for people around the world, the war, together with the other crises, is threatening to unleash an unprecedented wave of hunger and destitution, leaving social and economic chaos in its wake.
With an estimated 20 million tons of grain said to be stuck in warehouses on the quayside at Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa, Guterres is calling for a plan to transport it out. In Ankara, talks between Russia and Turkey to do just that ended without a solution. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow was willing to open corridors to allow grain exports from Ukraine, but to do so, Ukraine had to remove mines from its ports. Kyiv, meanwhile, has dismissed what it called Russian empty assurances.
For the first time, a Spanish government is supporting and recognizing a plan to turn the Western Sahara territories, the former Spanish colony, into an autonomous region under the rule of Rabat. Spain had never recognized the sovereignty of Morocco over these territories and had always defended the right to self-determination of the Sahrawi people, taking sides with Algeria and the Polisario Front. But Pedro Sanchez has defended that this is the only viable solution to the conflict and has always said that this is in line with the UN resolutions and the position of other allies like Germany and the US. He had to come here to Parliament to give some explanations, and he found the opposition of all political parties, including those that support his coalition government. The left-wing parties are accusing Pedro Sanchez of having abandoned the Sahrawi people, and the right-wing parties accuse Pedro Sanchez of having given in to Morocco's political blackmail. Both of them agree that endangering the relations with Algeria in the context of the war in Ukraine is probably not the best idea. Algeria is one of the main gas suppliers to Spain, and it has already announced that it will review some of the bilateral agreements with Spain. But Pedro Sanchez had to do something to restore the relations with Morocco. Morocco had launched a fierce campaign in the context of the Western Sahara conflict to force Spain to change its policies, and it had instrumentalized the migratory waves to Spain, and also it had closed the borders of the African Spanish cities of Ceuta and Melilla, strangling their economies. Pedro Sanchez hopes that the new approach towards the Western Sahara will bring normality and stability to Ceuta and Melilla, and it will help to restore the relations with Morocco. In Madrid, Jaime Velázquez, Euronews.
American former film producer Harvey Weinstein will be charged with 2 counts of indecent assault against a woman in London in 1996. British prosecutors have authorised the police to charge the Hollywood movie mogul. The 70-year-old is incarcerated in California and awaiting a retrial for alleged sexual assaults against 5 women.
During a service at the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church in Berlin, the victims of the fatal drive on Wednesday morning were remembered. A 29-year-old German Armenian drove a car into a crowd of people. A teacher from Hesse was killed and 14 school children were hurt, some of them seriously. Berlin's Interior Affairs Minister said the evidence suggests the driver was a mentally ill person running amok. A second teacher was seriously hurt. Berlin's Mayor Franziska Giffey said she was deeply shocked by the incident.
We are shocked that an incident has occurred that brings back bad memories in all of us, including the Breitscheideplatz attack.
The Breitscheideplatz was an incident that became known as the Christmas market attack. Police say the driver of Wednesday's disaster was arrested at the scene. Berlin's top security official also added that posters were found in his car, which he expressed views about Turkey.